Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Afzal, recently divorced Muslim dad, and I wanted to share my experience with everybody over here because I know that when I started going through my divorce and separation, divorce, and everything else, and we have children, there was a lot of things that I'd gone through, and I wish I had known a lot of these things before embarking on a divorce. So I hope to share some of my valuable information with everybody over here and give you an introduction on it. So the first thing is that if you happen to know who I was married to, I have 3 children with her, and it's girl, boy, 12, 10, and 8.5. I want you to please respect the privacy of us and my children especially, and if you happen to know who she is, please don't mention it. So big disclaimer, don't do it. So going forward. Now, when I started going through my divorce, what I was told was that there's 5 key emotions that you go through in a divorce. Sorry, I'm trying to fit that in my camera. And I'm going to just read this from my notes. So first thing is, oops, I'm not used to this, is shock or denial. So we got married in 2004 and we divorced in 2018. So basically in 2009-ish, we had our first breakup. So that was when my initial shock and denial was. I'd already processed that at that point. Even though we started in 2017, the process of actually separating and divorcing, I'd already processed the shock and denial back then. So I'll go into these emotions a little bit later on. Sadness and anger, so that is the second stage. And in sadness and anger, it was interesting when I spoke to a counselor. He said that you can either express that emotion in sadness or in anger. And sometimes if you are too angry, which I think guys might be, it's probably better to sort of express it in anger, which is more like crying and letting go of the emotions. So for me personally, it was more anger and bitterness that you go through, or I went through. And I went through this, I would say, approximately 8 to 10 months. There was a break in the middle where I wasn't angry or bitter. I was just, maybe I was a bit sad, but I was sad of the outcome of my marriage and my situation at the time. The third one is something called bargaining. I have not experienced it myself, but bargaining is a stage where you're trying to convince the other person to stay within the marriage. And bargaining with them that maybe we can make things work and there is a way around it, or those kinds of things. I'm not too sure in terms of if I really bargained or not, but as I said, the first breakup, major breakup, was in 2009. We actually started the process in 2017. Between those years, I was probably bargaining with her to try and get her to stay in the marriage, and she didn't want to stay in the marriage. So that was probably my period of bargaining right there. Fourth one is depression and letting go. I'm not too sure if I really did feel depressed. I think, as I said earlier, it was more about letting go, or letting go of an idea or of the institution of being married. I grew up as a Muslim dad thinking that this is the woman I'm going to get married to, and this is the woman either I will die first or she will die first, so either one of us will get widowed, or we will die together. Whatever it is, this is the one person I'm married to, and that's for life for me, and that's it. That's the end. I think letting go was a big thing for me because it was a period of huge anger, and it was a period of just bitterness, anger. It's like, how can somebody get away with this? You know, how are they allowed to do this? So the logic I apply to this, and being a man, obviously I'm going to apply logic. The logic I apply on this is it takes 2 people, two sane minds, to get married to each other. But it only takes one person to walk out of the marriage. And that was the biggest eye-opener I had gone through. And it's kind of like, well, how are they allowed to live and be a full-fledged member of society there? And they are allowed to do this. Per civil law, per religious law, per any law. They're easily allowed to hurt the other person and do this. Later on, I will talk about dumper versus dumpee. Obviously, I'm the dumpee. So if you're a dumpee, male, woman, doesn't matter. Man, woman, whatever. I can relate to you, and you could probably relate to me. on this. But if you are the dumper, I'm probably not somebody you could relate to. So you probably want to stay away from me but what I can do is I can probably show you the flip side of the emotions of it, or what the other person might be going through. The last one is acknowledgement, which is interesting because today is September 13th. And on about a few weeks ago, I'd say about end of August or so, about third week of August, I'd attended a lot of divorce support groups, separation support groups, started reading a lot, looking at YouTube videos. Why are things the way they are, so on and so forth. And it was interesting because I learned a lot during this time, and it helped me process the acknowledgement side. So it's not, some people call it acceptance, but it's not acceptance on what happened to you and that it's okay, but it's acceptance on the past, an acknowledgement of the past. So for me personally, the acceptance has been that the past is the past, it's behind me, I've moved on. And it kind of felt as if I had shed a whole layer of my skin and I literally walked out of it. It's kind of like a caterpillar. You know, you have a caterpillar there and it starts to shed off its skin and out pops the butterfly. And that's exactly me. I am that new butterfly at this stage. The emotions at this stage now is that I had huge anger and bitterness. I mean, you looked at me, I looked perfectly fine, great person to speak with. People said, well, you're handling it very well. But inside of me, there was a huge ball of fire and anger that had to be released. It had to go out. And at this stage, officially, I would say, at the acceptance stage, and this is why it was important for me to record this at now. I'd probably publish it later on, but today is September 13th, 2018. But the reason I'm doing this right now is because I wanted to be sure that I'm at the acknowledgement phase, or the acknowledgement that the past is what the past is. I'm not saying for any right or wrong reason. And there's revelations that I might be getting as I go through this process, but the past is what it is, and I've just shed it and moved on. And where I've moved on is to a stage of, well, okay, now I need to work on my life and who I am. You know, what is my calling? What is it that I need to do? Many people will use the phrase, the best version of yourself. I don't use that phrase. I think I use it that, what is my ultimate mission that I have to do in this world, regardless of the children, regardless of whatever happened to my marriage, regardless of parents, brothers and sisters, and so on. It's more about me and getting the best, well, I guess the best version of myself probably does make sense, but what am I ultimately sent down to this world to do? And I think that's the real identification process. And I think when you go through a divorce, especially if you're a dumpee, you get to that point and you realize that's what you need to do. If you're a dumper, you're like, well, thank God I got relieved of this pain that I had, or this issue, or this challenge, or just being with somebody I didn't like. For the dumpee, they've been given a blow, and when they've been given a blow, they need to figure out a way now to say, okay, what do I do next for myself? And how do I ultimately live for the rest of my life being the best person that I can? So you have to really, it's not about pleasing your children or pleasing anybody else. It's about, if I can be the best of myself, then everything else falls into place. So that's where I'm standing at. Thank you so much again, guys, for watching, and a follow-up might happen.